All right, everyone. This is actually one of the best books I've read this year so far. Marvel comics generally suck, all except for, maybe Venom, Immortal Hulk, and a lot of these Spider-Man books are actually pretty good, unless they're written by Tom Taylor. This book is awesome. I'm going to tell you exactly why I love it so much.
Let me be clear as mud. He's got a radio like a blood, so he can swing from a thread. Take cover over your head down. Here comes the Spider-Man.
All right, cool. First things first, I want to just say Chip Zdarsky is one of the best writers in comics today. We got Mark Bagley on pencils, we got John Dell on inks, Frank Darmada on colors, and then VC's Travis Lanham on letters. The lettering is actually really cool. I was impressed by it as well. So, just talking about Chip Zdarsky for a second as well, my very favorite book last year was actually written by Zdarsky, and he did all of the art, everything, all of the writing. 310, Peter Parker. This was a fantastic book. If you haven't read this one, I suggest this one, and big recommend. Again, this book is really cool. Here's what bothers me so much. I've only read this once, and my fingerprint is on the book. So as soon as here's the deal. You buy a Marvel book these days, you walk out of the store, immediately it's basically worthless because all of the ink they use is garbage. It's trash. They don't care about their books. They're just pushing them out. And it's clearly obvious. If you only have 4 titles out of, geez, how many? What do they have, 50 books being put out monthly? I don't even know. Something ridiculous. They need to push their numbers down. If you only have 3 titles that are good out of that many, you got a problem. You got a big problem. But the biggest problem is quality. They don't care about their ink. I don't want to harp on that. It's just true. This is a fantastic book for a lot of reasons. Now, there's some politics in this book, but it's from the 60s. The politics are really about the Vietnam War. So I want to go over some numbers here at the very end of this to kind of give you some ideas based on Gallup polls. But I want to do this book first. I don't want to talk in the beginning about anything but the book, and then I'll get to those numbers and those Gallup polls to talk a little bit more about the Vietnam War, because that's a big portion of this. So this starts out, it's so cool. It talks about the past history. He says, 4 years. Feels like yesterday, that bite. The pain of it faded. But boy, the results sure stuck around. 4 years without. You make amends? I try to every day. He's talking about, of course, his Uncle Ben dying, That's a big part of the lore here. With Spider-Man, he really wants to make up for that wrong that he did, and even so, it is a wrong to ignore your responsibility, because of course, with great power comes great responsibility, and Zdarsky immediately talks about that in the beginning. He covers so many things, there's great stuff from the relationship between him and Jameson, his relationship between him and Gwen Stacy. It's really cool. The characterization is wonderful. The storyline's fantastic. But here's the part I really want to touch on the most, because it's a big part of this book. We're talking about the 60s, and we're talking about 1966 specifically, when we first started getting involved in the Vietnam War. And this is the biggest thing about this book that really hit me hard. It says, I don't think Aunt May slept a wink since guys my age started getting drafted. Being in school keeps me safe for now, but man, every day just feels like another step closer to everyone I know going overseas, or to Canada. I don't know, maybe I should just sign up. All this power could make a difference, but what am I going to do? Bring my Spidey costume with me? Is it a moral imperative to give up my secret to help a greater number of people? That's so good. And then you see, of course, Osborn has been following him around. And you know who Osborn is, of course, if you follow Spider-Man. So, okay, people are getting drafted. That was a big deal back then. I wasn't alive then. I'm a youngster, compared to those who were alive. But this is pretty wild. I love how Zdarsky gets into this here. We're watching black and white TV, it's the 60s. Says, without Iron Man at the scene of the battle, the presence of industrialist Tony Stark's personal bodyguard has bolstered the troops and given rise to many questions at home. With the recent surge of American superheroes, should anyone exhibiting abilities beyond the average person be automatically drafted? And then it says, man, this war. So cool. Okay, now there's some politics in here. I mean, you can see it right there. They've gotten politics involved in this book. Now, stick with me here. don't drop out of this, because the next portion that I really want to cover is kind of showing some equal footing right here when it comes to these arguments, these issues. Flash, if you don't know Flash Thompson, he picked on Peter Parker all the way through his high school, and that was a big part of the lore as well. And Peter Parker says, sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything? Did Flash screw up and tell his made-up war stories too early? Har har, Parker. A little early for your jealousy to come out, isn't it? What? Peter Parker says. Oh, please. Yeah, I'm super jealous of you voluntarily flying halfway around the world to live the high school bully's dream. Flash says, what's that supposed to mean? So you see Peter Parker kind of being a jerk to Flash because he's in the military, because he did it voluntarily. I think you know, hotshot, he says. And Flash says, wow, puny Parker's coming out swinging. Take your shot, big man, before I go defend our country. So Gwen talks him down. She says, he's leaving on Saturday, Peter. You know and I know he may not be coming back. Don't let the last thing you say to him be that. What, still got some Parker zingers for me? Some pot shots about me being a nom-bully? And then Peter says, I'm sorry. He says, that's all. I'm sorry. High school was rough for me, and you were a big part of that. I know you've grown past who you are, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm still there, and I snap at you because I can now, if that makes sense. So these issues that they're talking about, super intense. This is going to be the last portion that I show from this book, in fact, here. Flash says, I get it, I'm sorry for how I was, and I know most people won't really understand why I signed up. I am proud of this uniform, but I still feel the looks when I wear it. Honestly, it kind of helps me know where I stand with people when I meet them. Gosh, that's absolutely true. So many people look down on military men. Peter asks, why are you doing this? Your dad fought in the war and it changed him for the worse. You've told me the stories. I just don't know why you'd put yourself through that. Flash says, oh man, it's easy. I'm doing it because it's what Spider-Man would do. And then Peter Parker's shocked face. This art is so good. Everyone involved in this book has done a great job. Flash says he's got this sense of duty that makes him risk his life every day without even showing his face. I'm his #1 fan. Well, now I can prove it by doing what he does, helping people. That's fantastic. Again, I'm not going to reveal any more about this book. I've already given you enough spoilers. I really feel like this is a good, balanced perspective of how different people would feel about the Vietnam War, honestly. And today, you see a lot of differences from back in the day. And I brought this up on my laptop here. I'm not going to exactly pull it out and show you, but I'm going to read these off. Now, this is from a Gallup poll. And this was, like I said, back in the day. What was it? 1966, when this book was set in. It says that 25% of Americans back in that day, back in 1966, 25% of Americans believed that we should have stayed out of the war. And 60% approval rate for the war. Again, of course, the media machine was definitely pushing for the war to happen, for America to get involved. 16% were undecided about that back then. things changed dramatically by the end of the war. In fact, those numbers flipped exactly, where only 30% believed that it was not a mistake, and in 1971, 61% believed that it was a mistake to be in Vietnam. So again, very divided back then, still kind of divided today about this. If you look at polls today for now, I mean, we're talking about 2018 here. Well, it's not as divided as I would have suspected. Again, these are just media outlets that I've looked at and pulled up on my own. Some of them, of course, are biased and possibly wrong, because the media is just a joke today. But it says that 22% today of Americans believed we did the right thing by being involved in Vietnam, and that 51% believe that we should have stayed out. Here's the thing, 27% say that they don't know, that they don't have an opinion about the Vietnam War. And you know why I think that is? Because no one actually looks at history. No one actually looks at these things. It is clearly obvious that Chip Zdarsky spent a lot of time looking into this. This is going to be a great series. Again, putting aside all the Vietnam stuff, it's written very well. This is one of those few books that really follows the lore completely and properly. It builds upon it. And, we talk about hawks and doves in American society and society in general and politics in general. I can't say that I'm either one of those things. I'm of a different breed. I'm basically what's called an anti-interventionalist for the most part. Barring some huge mass genocide going on, like the Holocaust, I really don't believe that America should be getting involved in other people's politics. I think that we should kind of stay out. Again, people could probably disagree with me. That's fine. Having a conversation about these things is important. Here's what I love about this book. It has a conversation in itself. It doesn't make up your mind for you or try to make up your mind for you. Again, that's completely opposed to the kind of politics that Tom Taylor puts in Marvel books when he writes them. I can use X-Men Red for an example. He basically is pushing an agenda. This book, talking about politics, presents both sides and lets you make up your mind for you. If you haven't picked up this book, I think you should. It's really good and it's worth your time. If you're a big Spider-Man fan like I am, well, pick it up. It'll be worth your time. I'm going to come back again tomorrow with another video. Of course, tonight I have a live stream scheduled with Ebi Canales and Michael Derrick, the two individuals involved in the abductables. I can't wait. Tune in for that this evening. And folks, it's like I always say, write every day, make art every day, because you're the gateway into comics.
Let me be